Welcome to the Rise Above show with Patricia Jo Grover, where we rise above our challenges and turn believers into achievers. I just want to take a quick moment and thank our sponsors, 133 Approved Funding. They've been able to be there to help businesses keep their doors open and people employed through the global pandemic. But for people who are looking for the funds to be able to start or scale a business, they're there for funding for that as well. Also for consumer financing for people such as myself or even Dr. Dolores, for them to be able to, people to be able to get financing for products and services that we offer. So if you'd like more information, you can reach out to me. And let me tell you a little bit about our guest today, Dolores, Dr. Dolores Fazzino. Yeah, Fazzino, right?
That's right.
That's right. She's a DNP and is a nurse practitioner, a medical intuitive, an Amazon best-selling author, speaker, and energy whisperer. With over 40 years in the healthcare industry, she is a distinguished pioneer bridging the world of spirituality and wellness. She helps people realign their body, mind, and soul to heal in ways they never thought possible, creating lasting health and true wellness. Oh my goodness. So Dolores, this is interesting because there are so many more facets to healing. And when you can connect the spirituality piece to it, that's so powerful. So I'm so happy to have you with us.
Well, thank you, Patty. And it's a pleasure to be here. And yes, the spirituality is what I call the glue that keeps the body, mind, and soul together. And unfortunately, we are seeing the extent to how it's disengaged in people. And I think we've seen this more so with the pandemic that we're currently moving out of, but have been in for, pretty close to 2 years, believe it or not. So, it's been an interesting time.
It sure has. It surely has. And I just also want to just take a moment to tell everyone that Dr. Fazzino is going to be one of our speakers for the spiritual dimension of life. And her episode is going to air October 8th at about noontime, Eastern Standard Time. So you'll want to check that out. And we're going to get some questions to her today to help plant some seeds and give you guys some idea a little bit more about her. So can you tell us, Dolores, a little bit more about your background?
Oh, absolutely. People always wonder how people have been on their journey to get where they're at currently, and mine has been a really precarious and interesting one. I've been in healthcare for over 40 years, so that makes me that I'm in my early 60s. But the other thing that you have to remember is that I've been an empath, intuitive, and highly sensitive person my whole entire life. So when I was born that way. My parents didn't know what to do with me because I questioned everything and I felt everything at a very deep level. And, the majority of people that are born today have those empathic and intuitive and highly sensitive aspects to themselves. So I was probably one of the outliers that was born first to be a way shower, to help people navigate through their life with those gifts. So as a child, I grew up in a household where you weren't allowed to feel because that was the MO. You just didn't feel your emotions. And there was other issues going on as well. My mom was a product of an alcoholic household. And so feeling for her came with a lot of baggage. And her best way to deal with it was ignore it, it'll go away. So you say that to somebody who's an empath, an intuitive and highly sensitive person. As we know, what you ignore grows. So I would try her methodology, but I noticed it was growing and growing. Luckily for me, I got introduced to music at a very young age, and I started playing the clarinet and got very proficient at it. And so I was able to channel that part of myself through my music. However, in tandem of what was going on with that, my dad became very ill after having a surgery back in the mid-1960s. He had back surgery to remove a ruptured disc and ended up picking up a hospital-acquired infection. So at that time, he was on his deathbed and pretty close to dying, and they couldn't heal. They didn't have the antibiotics or the technology at that time to assist him. The good news is he did recover from that, but that was one of the first pivotal points in my life, because that was a scary time for somebody who's 7 or 8 years old, not knowing where daddy is, first of all. And when you see him, he looks like half a man he was when, he left the house last. Flash forward 4 years, things were fine. And then around 1970, the unthinkable happened. He got sick, and he would develop abscesses throughout his abdominal cavity. He would actually have to go to the hospital, have major surgery to clear that out, be in the hospital for 2 months. And this happened not only once, but 4 times between 1970 and 1975. And so my life was an emotional roller coaster. If I didn't have the music, I probably it would have been a lot worse for me. And what had happened was is that in the 11th hour, in 1975, the CAT scanner was developed and was being utilized as a first major modern technology of diagnosing people. So they put my dad underneath the CAT scanner, and they found where these infections were coming from when my dad's immune system was being compromised, where he'd pick it up and it would trigger, was where he had his back surgery in 1966. So their solution for him at that time was to have major surgery, a back fusion, which in the mid-1970s was in its neophyte development of where it is today, which came with a high risk that he would there's 50% chance that he might pass away, or he would be paralyzed for the rest of his life, or he might make it. And so my mom was having nothing to do with that. My mother started exploring different modalities of healing, such as faith healing and laying on of hands, something that was not mainstream media. However, back in 1975, as we all know, because we're all of that age, you and I especially, it's like the National Enquirer was I call it at that time, the modern day Google search, okay? Because in that magazine or the newspaper, it was a national rag. It advertised and interviewed different people with different things. And at that time, they were interviewing a man from Carroll, Michigan, Reverend Dr. Alex Holmes, who had the gift of laying on of hands. And he had been doing this work in 1975 for the last 25 years with much success. In fact, he was being featured because he helped his brother heal from leukemia. So my mom was all over this. And of course, my dad was like, oh, absolutely not, unless the surgeon says it's okay. So funny thing, at that time, my mom and dad were in the hospital because my dad got admitted, and this was the plan. So my mom marched down to the nurse's station, and there was the surgeon, my dad's surgeon, sitting there writing notes. And so my mom went to the surgeon and said, doctor, I'm thinking about having a spiritual healer come in to help my husband with his medical problem. Surgeon doesn't miss a beat, looks up and says, sure, that's fine, and keeps going writing. So my mom was tickled pink and went right back to the room to make the announcement to my dad. She said, Joe, the surgeon said, yes, I think we should do that. And my dad agreed. Not 10 minutes go by, and my mom goes back out to the nurse's station where the surgeon is. My mom made the announcement to the surgeon saying, thank you, doctor. And my husband agreed to have the spiritual healer come in. The doctor looked up at her and said, what are you talking about? I never agreed to that. Okay. So there was something bigger going on than we could see. But yet my mom didn't share that piece of information with my father and carried on with her mission. So a month later, the beginning of January of 1976, we come home from school. I was the oldest of four, my three other siblings and myself, and my two grandmothers were there along with Reverend Holmes. And I don't know how Reverend Holmes knew that my dad had a leg length discrepancy, because we all knew that, and he would have lifts in his shoes, but his shoes and slippers were nowhere in sight. He was barefoot. I don't know how he knew this. However, my dad he's a skeptic. So he should have been born in Missouri, the show me state, because he has to see something to believe it. Okay. That's just the way I present this. So it's so funny. So he said to my father, Joe, put up both your legs. And sure enough, when my dad did, you could see the 1-inch gap because there was a book there. And he said, put your legs down. And then he started praying over my father. And he touched his solar plexus, his belly area, and the top of his head, and said some prayers and quoted some healing verses from scripture. And I'm not a religious person, okay? I'm a recovering Catholic, but I believe in the spiritual aspect of things. So anyway, he did that, and not 3 minutes went by, and he said, now put both your feet up. And I kid you not, Patty, his feet were both the same length. My father, in that moment, just cried and sobbed like a baby, because like I said, he needed to see evidence that something was actually happening, okay, to make him believe again that things are possible. So the Reverend, for me, that was a game changer, because I was on a trajectory to become a concert clarinetist once I finished high school. And in that moment, I knew I needed to change my area of focus, go into healthcare and tell people, I'd share with people there's possibilities to heal besides what we physically know. My dad had about 30 more minutes of work with Reverend Holmes, and then he was instructed to go to sleep and rest for the next 24 hours. My dad actually slept for 24 hours. And this happens because when we do any type of massive energy work in our invisible energy field, which a lot of people can't see, but it's part of us, things are opened up and getting rearranged and healed. So sleeping is the best way to process and integrate that. A month later, he goes back to get a repeat CAT scan. There is no evidence of the infection. In fact, he never had to have surgery for that particular issue or never revisit that problem ever again. And he passed away about 9 years ago at the age of 80.
Oh, what a beautiful story, Dr. Dolores. And it does truly make sense, of all the things and all that we hold in our bodies when we're able to, our mind is able to accept, right?
Mm-hmm.
The mind has to accept, and then
exactly
that's what it took. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So Dolores, where was that pivotal point in your life that you launched your career? Because I can see why all of a sudden it clicked for you, but so when was that pivotal point that in your life that you launched your career?
Well, you know what? It's always been in the back of my head. So I was starting to dabble in a lot of alternative stuff. Even when I was a teenager before this happened, I was just anything that was on the fringes of the woo-woo. It was just like I was all over it. So I knew I needed to ground myself in Western medicine to really be credible for what I share with people. Because I'm living it, and I've always been intuitive. So I want to say my career actually started with the whole intuitiveness and helping people in my 20s. So it's been going on for a long period of time. And over time, it's actually morphed into what it is now. So, it's interesting because I've spent I would say the majority of my career in the surgical realm as an assistant surgeon. So I got to help people in another dimension as they're having surgery and healing without people really knowing what was going on. Okay. I think the ultimate compliment you get from a doctor is this: Dolores, we like it when you're here. Things seem to go much better. So, for me, that's just been my career. And I feel as if, when I work with private clients who are having medical challenges as well as just wanting to make life shifts because life as they know it is no longer working for them and they've hit their wall. Sometimes there's just energetic blocks in your energy field. And and the thing is, it's like we're just way more than our physicality, what we could see. Part of the holistic wheel is the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. And, we divide them up into quarters and separate compartments. But the big cosmic joke is that they're all interconnected like a matrix in ways people have no idea. So the thing is like, for whatever the physical illness people have, like, for an example, when women get breast cancer, there might be issues around not feeling their self-worth, okay, not being able to put themselves first, always, maybe internalizing their emotions and not expressing them. But also there's a genetic aspect to it, and there's also a physical aspect too. Our environment doesn't help with what's going on. So there's many aspects to what's happening, not just one. And I think when we just focus on the physical and don't address those underlying issues, guess what? I witness it in surgery. People get better after they have their mastectomy, they go through their chemo and radiation, and guess what? They're back 18 months later with another cancer. And so for me, it was an eye-opener that what we're doing here is just a temporary fix. We need to go deeper into what is really going on and what created this, right, and start healing this. And, I'm really blessed because I have a general surgeon who's a breast specialist, a good friend of mine, and she got this. She got what was really going on. And she's over like, oh my God, when you start working with them before they come to surgery, they're starting to heal. I said, bingo, you're absolutely right. So she gets it. And, I feel that this is like a bridge that needs to happen. And of course, you talk about cancers as an extreme example of what is really going on. But it could be just that, you're having crappy relationships, or, you can't understand why the same thing keeps happening over and over. It's almost like reliving Groundhog Day every day, the movie. It's just like, there's a core issue there, and it keeps presenting itself with a different theme and variation. So it's like, all right, so that's a repeating pattern at the deepest thing. What can we do to shift and alter that? And I think what we see today, Patty, is this. I love psychology. However, we beat a dead horse. We constantly talk about a problem, but we never offer the client a solution. And that's what they really want. And so the solution is going deeper and then doing some energy shifting. It helps. I myself have been a product of self-improvement for decades, and I've gone through group therapy and individual therapy. And let me tell you, it's just like what happens in those sessions. Yes, you chip away at it, you feel better for a while, then all of a sudden it's back again. So it's like, I understand the frustration.
Right. Exactly. Oh, Dolores, this makes so much sense. And I hope our viewers and listeners are picking up on these things. Because it is so true. So Dolores, can you tell us a little bit more about the current healthcare system and what you bring to that healthcare arena? Because everything that you've said so far just clicks with me so much, and it makes so much sense. But what's happening in the healthcare world today, we really need to supplement that, I believe, with what you're doing.
I totally agree. Being in Western medicine, and I was trained Western medicine. I have a doctorate in nursing practice from Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland. I am a nurse practitioner. I know, but the thing is, I think what we've lost is this component, the ability to trust our instincts and our inner knowingness. That is what I've witnessed over the last 40 years. We have checklists of things, that need to have happen for people. We have, checklists of studies and the drugs we put on. People have given their power away to the checklist instead of coming within themselves and trusting that innate knowledge that we have. Like, you just have this gut feeling that something's off with this person. You don't know what it is, but it's like it's not checking off in the boxes. We've lost that capability to help and assist people, number one. Number two is that people have given their power away to something outside of themselves. whether it's consciously or unconsciously. And I think we're witnessing a big thing with this right now, going through the vaccines and all the mandates and stuff like that. People are, they think they have no control. They do. They need to step into their power and learn how to do that and not give that inner power away to something else. It's about trusting your intuition. If something feels off about something for you, by all means, please do not do it. Because when sometimes when you ignore that little voice, you pay for it later. It could be with your overall health, wellness, or even your life. Okay? So, I'm trained Western medicine, and, evidence-based is a big buzzword that goes around. But you know what? I have an issue with evidence-based. Because I think what happens in humanity is this. We as individuals are individuals. We're as unique as an individual fruit in a massive fruit salad. Each one of us is a different fruit, a different flavor, a different texture. And what I've witnessed in Western medicine is they try to make that beautiful fruit salad and change it all into one fruit like an apple, which you're never going to be able to do that because of what we discussed earlier. The physicality of who we are is going to be different in how we got to that physicality by everything else that goes on in the undercurrent or the unconscious. So until we clean that up, this is the last part that needs to be addressed.
It makes so much sense, Dolores.
Thank you.
Yeah, so tell us, Dr. Dolores, tell us more about healing in ways you never thought possible. I can't wait to hear more.
So anyway, what I mean by that is this. Oftentimes we think that A plus B equals C, or 1 plus 1 equals 2, but 1 plus 1 actually equals 3. Because when you imagine a pie, okay, and in the middle there's a pie hole. And so the pie hole is really health and wellness. And then when you have a pie, every piece of that pie is cut in equal parts. And it could be any type of health and wellness modality, inclusive of Western medicine, is a small slice. It's not the big pie. Okay. So what's going to work for you, Patty, for maybe an issue you have addressing your health and wellness is maybe a little bit of Western medicine, maybe a little bit of yoga, maybe a little bit of herbal remedy, okay? For me, for the same issue, it may be something completely different. That is the beauty of having so many choices. And I feel that, and I know that everybody thinks that this is the box that has all the information. It's not. I knew early on in my career in the ICU, I lived through the whole HIV and AIDS pandemic, if you want to call it, back in the 80s. I worked in the medical intensive care unit at a hospital on the East Coast. It was a scary time. And I'll tell you why it was really scary. I was so naive when I was in my 20s thinking Western medicine had all the answers until that situation happened and nobody knew what the hell was going on day to day. The protocol changed day to day. And I'm thinking to myself, excuse me, oh shit, we're in trouble. Nobody knows what's going on. And that's basically what's happened. And our colleagues, Andrew Weil and Deepak Chopra, both Western medicine trained physicians, they said this one thing. They were on a panel together, and this is something that I've always known, but they said it from their mouths, so I quote it, is that Western medicine is really good at taking care of acute problems, meaning like you break your ankle, you go and get a cast, you have appendicitis, you go and have that removed. But for chronic illnesses and stuff, they have no clue what's going on. They don't know how to take care of those people. And for those two people who are, crossed over, trained Western medicine, but practice integrative and also alternative medicine, for them to say that was huge. And that just validated everything I knew my entire career.
Exactly. And it's proven that so many things that ail us as humans today are related to stress. Well, what forms of stress, and and again, like you said, there's many underlying things that cause these things. So the how to fix those things for people are going to be different. It's going to be different for different people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, it's like, why are we trying? And the definition of insanity is it's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a same result. That's how I look at research for, a lot of drugs, research for a lot of different ailments, because the thing is, it's like, if you have a population that, was just their physical body, great. But there's other driving forces that are deeper that, need to be looked at. You just can't keep putting a Band-Aid on and ripping the scab off every time something's wrong. It's not, we've got to do better for our people. We really do.
Agreed. 100% agreed there. Oh my goodness. So Dr. Dolores, this kind of brings me to my next question. A term I think you shared with me. What is multifaceted healing?
Okay, well, multifaceted healing is looking at not only the physical part, but looking at your thinking, your thoughts, and believe me, the things that you say to yourself when nobody else hears you, those affect your it's very huge. People have no idea. And I think what really drove that home for me is, like, I studied the work of Dr. Emoto, Dr. Masaru Emoto, who was a Japanese scientist who studied water. And he would label water with different words, like, maybe love, a phrase, I hate you on it. Okay, fast freeze those, look under a microscope and record the crystal formations. Now, as you know, of course, the positive words are going to be beautiful crystals. The negative ones, like I hate you, was fragmented and parts were missing and not symmetrical. Now take that a step further. Our bodies are 70% water.
True.
What you say to yourself is changing the water composition within our bodies. Okay?
That's mind-blowing, but it makes so much sense. And you notice in even, the work that I do with clients, and I tell them to close their eyes and I'll say this to yourself, and notice how you feel when you're saying it to yourself, when you refer to this in a positive context, and the same words, but say it with that different tone in your voice and the inflection, and see the difference, the way your body feels. And when people can see that, that's like, wow. And that's just like you just shared with us. That is so
same exact same thing, but from a water standpoint. Right. Absolutely. So that's just one thing too, but also, we're in a society that, I grew up in that household where you're not supposed to feel. A lot of people have ignored their emotions, stuffed them, put them on the shelf for later to deal with, which they never do, or, they totally just ignore them, whatever. And, I'm going to share a story with you. My mother passed away about 10 years ago of inoperable pancreatic cancer. And knowing from what I know from studies and also studying Louise Hay and looking at, body talk and stuff like that, my mother never experienced her emotions. She internalized it. And when you have issues with your pancreas, liver, kidney complex, it has a lot to do with unprocessed emotions, anger, pancreatic stuff, diabetes, not enjoying the sweetness of life. She was constantly on trying to control emotions and not feel. So she internalized all her stuff. So it was no surprise to me that that's what had happened. So it was a huge wake-up call for me as well. Wow. Knowing this, and I've known this early on in my 30s, what was kind of going on. Because, when stuff like that happens, energetically, and emotions are energy. They are to be experienced, because how you dissipate the energy is experiencing the emotion. The problem is, it's like we dip our toe into the emotion and we stop ourselves. So we're still living that energy of it, and it's driving us, but yet it's stuck in our energy field, running the show on an unconscious level. Bottom line.
Oh.
So when you start experiencing your emotions, and you know what? Yeah, some of them are not pleasant, but the thing is, we have labeled them that way. Okay. So they're necessary. You know, feeling anger is a normal thing. When you're angry, it's like, okay, acknowledge that you are and just be with it and allow yourself to feel what you're feeling. Please do not project it onto somebody else so they try to fix it for you, because I think our normal tendency is to do that. Just just tell people, it's like, look, I need my space right now. I'm going through some stuff. I'm feeling very angry about X, Y, and Z, and I just need to be with my stuff. And you know what? When you're with it and you work through it, a day or two will go by and you're fine. And then it never bothers you again, because you kind of worked and experienced that and you come into a neutrality. But of course, me telling you this and the other people are like, oh, hell no, I'm not opening Pandora's box of the unknown and just freaking out. But the thing is, it's like, it's so liberating because it removes a lot of energetic debris that's running the show for you under the scenes. And you have no space for nothing else to go in there. So you keep stuffing it and it comes into a physical condition.
Right. That's such a great explanation, Dr. Dolores. It really is. Oh my goodness. It does. It really clicks. It makes so much sense. So can you tell us more about the concept of being versus doing?
Well, that's a very interesting one, because we're in a society that's always been in motion. Okay, we go to work and we are in our heads. We're trying to figure things out, how to make something happen, push a boulder up a hill. There's a lot of force, a lot of trying to control the situation. We see this in the corporate world a lot, where it's like they're wanting more and more out of their people. The people don't have anything else to give. It's like they're trying to expect blood from a turnip. There's nothing left to give. So people have been stressed out because they've been on this treadmill. So, I call it the doing mobile or the merry-go-round. And they know, people who are starting to wake up realize that this is not sustainable long-term, and they want to get off, but they don't know how. Sometimes the how is they end up getting a health condition or a health scare or something. And then they have to do something about it. But the ones that are in motion know that there needs to be something happening. And there's those that don't think there's a problem at all, and they thrive on that type of stuff. So what happens is this, what we know, and I'm going to go back to the pandemic because there's no mistake this happened, okay, on multiple levels, okay? How I see this is that when people are constantly in doing mode, they need to get off, okay? So the pandemic, let's face it, we were all on lockdown for like at least 2 weeks. This was the grand reset, folks. You finally were able to get off that doing mobile and do nothing. And then people were like freaking out because they don't know, they have no reference point for what it is to be still or to be. They're always in motion. And they think that's, our society has programmed into us that in order to be a productive member of society, you have to be constantly doing and being in motion. Wrong. That is an illusion, folks. To be more productive, you need to have the balance between doing and being. The thing is like the being part is mindful activity, okay? Anything that gets you grounded into your physical body, okay? When you're not in your physical body, guess what? You can't feel your emotions. So I'm not surprised so many people are not in their physical body. They don't want to feel, okay? Secondly, is that when you are in your physical body, like I said, you feel your emotions, but you're also in present time. Okay? When you are doing, you're in the past worrying about what was yesterday and contemplating what's coming tomorrow. You're never in the present moment. You're in your mind figuring out. You're in your heart feeling and exploring and receiving and experiencing. And lastly, is that when you're doing, you're disconnected from your intuition. When you are being in your physical body in the present moment, you are connected with your life force, your intuition, that higher wisdom within yourself. So the best way to handle that is like, well, people are like, well, how do you, what's the trigger? What do you have to do this? What you do is you start with being. Do something mindful. If you have children or grandchildren, spend some time with them. They're the ultimate of being in the moment, especially if you have pets. I had one cat who was my best teacher. His name was Max. He was the definition of in the moment all the time. Okay. And, it really got me to look at, that's just what life's all about. He goes moment to moment, doing whatever the heck he wants, making a mess and, whatever, he doesn't have a plan that he's going to go out and go catch a mouse. He just, he's just being who he is. So, our grandparents' generation, they did knitting and crocheting and stuff like that. That was their mindful activity, right? Cooking, gardening. We've had a whole generation and a half that doesn't know any of that stuff, but is getting a renaissance back into that, which is a good thing. So when you start here, you get your epiphanies and like these massive, brilliant ideas that your higher self is talking to, and then you go into divine doing. You do, okay, say, an example. For me, early in my career, I was on the doing platform here. And I was very successful, but it was a temporary success because of the burnout. I couldn't sustain it. I had developed an autoimmune condition, and I knew that anything I did further, I needed to change something. So I spent a lot of time in meditation, and I call it having a board meeting with my CEO of me every day, where I get my instructions of what I need to do for the day. Believe me, it's been very productive. I have more time. And it's been easy and effortless. So one day I was taking Max the cat to the vet at, for 7:00 appointment. And those who know me, I am not a morning person. I'm usually in bed until, 9, 10 o'clock. If I don't have nothing to do, I sleep in. I just like my sleep, and that's how I process. So I had to get up really early to herd Max and get him to the vet. So I did. I brought him to the vet. On my way back, I'm ready to go back to bed and snuggle up. And there's a sign that says estate sale. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, no, I really don't want to be going to an estate sale, but the car is going in that direction. And so my higher self is saying, we want you to go to that. I was like, I don't want to go to an estate sale. I said, I should be having I'm having this, this dialogue with my higher self. No, I should be having the garage sale and the estate sale. I have so much stuff. It's just like, no, no. And so I'm going there, and I'm like, I finally surrendered to it. I couldn't find a parking spot until like 3 houses down from where it is. And I'm still having this dialogue. And as I'm walking up there, I said, you've got to be kidding me. I can't believe I'm doing this. I go in there, I humor them. There's nothing there. But on the way back out, 2 houses down, I parked 3 houses away. Somebody pulls out of the driveway, and it was a colleague of mine that I hadn't seen forever. I didn't know she lived there. And she said, oh my God, Dolores, I can't believe it's you. I was just thinking about you. We were just talking about you the other day. There's a professor at one of the California Institutes of Human Sciences that wants to meet you and connect with you. And I said, great. So I met with a human sciences professor. We ended up teaching a course together at that institution. It gets even better. I asked her, I said, so, what do you do during the summer if you don't have classes? She's over there. Oh, I go to Omega Institute in Rhinebeck, New York, where I teach. And that's been on my bucket list to teach there. Guess what I did 2 summers ago? Okay. Wow. So this is what I mean. It's just like you're in the flow of life, and you're a being. You get these divine downloads, and you do. And then you come back and get your next divine download. Easy peasy. I mean, that was on my bucket list. I didn't know how it was going to happen, but it was just like it happened. And, that was several years ago. But the point I'm making is that we need to do a paradigm shift. And unfortunately, some people during this pandemic time haven't woken up yet. Some have. when we need to distract ourselves with doing, because when we do, we're out of our body and we don't have to be with ourselves and create a relationship with ourselves. Okay. And, one of the longest, I tell people the longest relationship you're ever going to have in your life, believe it or not, is the one you have with yourself. So how's it going? It's like, it's something to ponder, but it's the truth.
It is so true. Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
Dr. Dolores. So can you tell us more about your coaching practice?
My coaching practice, I have both virtual and in person. If you're here on in the Southern California area, I usually encourage people to come to my home. Zoom, I have clients internationally. When I go on speaking gigs, to different parts of the country, I will let people know if I'm there and my availability, if they want to come and have a session while I'm in their area. I like working with people. Like I said, I'm a medical intuitive. So when people start talking, I see the energy unravel, and I could tell basically where things are coming from and what the blockages are, and to guide people. What I really like doing with people is just to teach and mentor them how to reestablish a relationship with their inner knowingness and inner wisdom, because that's where it all starts. I'm not here to fix it for them. I'm here to teach them so they can have a tool set so they can move forward in their life and make the right choices that are aligned with them. Not everything is for everybody. That's why I invite them to explore different things that they're, attracted to, because that's your intuition telling you, pushing you in that direction. Maybe look, if you're interested in taking a cooking class, by all means do it, because there's a gift in some educational stuff for you on a deeper level that your soul is craving for, and just live your life by that. In Western medicine, I could laugh about this because, you go to your doctor and it's just like, they're telling you X, Y, and Z, and your intuition screaming at you, no, no, no. It's just like, what? Going to a doctor or having any type of partnership relationship, it's like dating. Okay. If you're not having I'm not saying a romantic thing, but it's just like, you want to be able to work with your practitioner. You want somebody who's going to listen to you, listen to your life story, listen to the things that you've tried, instead of discounting everything that you've done and making you wrong. So please, by all means, fire them, because trust me, there are practitioners who are in alignment with you. I had to fire a general practitioner in July because I couldn't believe what was coming out of his mouth to me. And I'm like, I don't think so. And have a nice day to you too. And, and next, but, it's up to us to make those decisions for ourselves. You should be in partnership with any healthcare practitioner, be it Western medicine or alternative medicine. It's a relationship. How are they treating you? Are they like discounting everything that you're saying and making you wrong when they've only met you for 10 minutes? I tell them, I said, listen, honey, I've lived in this Taj Mahal for 62 years. I know how it works. Don't tell me that, X, Y, and Z, and don't quote all these research studies and statistics, because I'm going, la, 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 can't hear you, because that's not my language. So you need to be your own advocate. Right. Take your power back. Stand in your power, no matter what is going on outside of you. And not letting people shame you, guilt you, or whatever they're doing, because they have no clue. Right. Exactly. They don't. Exactly. And how dare they think they do? Seriously.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Dolores, what types of people have benefited from your coaching, and can you give us some examples?
Sure. I work with a lot of oncology patients, especially women in breast cancer. I love working with clients, and I love clients who are ready to do the work. Okay. That, they know that they need to make a shift, and they need to do that. I've actually helped people with prenatal stuff, actually, when they conceive a baby and the soul is already there, because believe it or not, our soul takes on energetic vibrations and frequencies when we're in utero, even from conception, believe it or not. So there's a lot of energetic stuff that people are not aware of that they carry, that little soul is absorbing like a sponge, thinking it's their stuff, and they take it on as theirs. This is the ancestral lineage part of things. And so yesterday, for an example, I worked with a woman who is, close to her, the late 30s. A lot of women I know now today are having first babies or second babies in their late 30s, which is perfectly fine. And they're healthy and they're wonderful. They're mature mothers, and, they do a good job. But it was interesting because this little soul was communicating with me and telling me what, mommy needed, basically, and what she was feeling in utero. And it was a very interesting concept. So clearing things out for them so the soul has a better chance to flourish and thrive. You know what I'm saying? But you have to be very aware and self-aware of this as well. And then, of course, there's people who are, having some challenges in their personal life, or maybe they have been told that, you need to retire now. The COVID pandemic has really shifted a lot of things in the workforce. A lot of people work from home now. A lot of people were furloughed and laid off, especially, and then older people who were close to retirement, just took an early retirement. And a lot of times these people don't have a reference point of what's next for them. So maybe, I work with them as far as having them tap into themselves and explore things and, make a decision of what they would like to do, just because, I think for so many of us, what we do for a career is so much of our identity that when it's over, we don't know what to do,
True.
so.
True. I do have people telling me that, when I work with clients. So,
Yeah.
Dr. Dolores, do you do retreats in that type of thing?
I do. And as a matter of fact, I have a private one coming up in November in Sedona. I live in Southern California, so I feel very blessed to be out here. And I'm actually from Connecticut originally, and I escaped 33 years ago. I came on vacation and moved. So that's pretty much as quickly as it happened. And been here ever since. But yes, I do offer retreats. I take people up to Mount Shasta. I've taken groups to Sedona, both private and, expansive groups. I also do VIP days here. And I also can do VIPs to the client as well. So, and, just to really get a deep dive into something and just get them on their pathway.
Right. So, let me ask you, do you have any gifts for our viewers and listeners today?
I do. And what I think is really important, and we talked about people being in their bodies and not. I have it's a video meditation. You can either listen to it or look at it, but it's a guided meditation on how to ground in the present moment. And, since we're multidimensional beings, we exist in many different dimensions. But the thing is, it's like we need to anchor ourselves into our physical body. That's when you're going to be in the present time. So this 7-minute short guided meditation is going to help you anchor into your physical body. And you could actually, I'm going to give you the link for it. You go to my website, DoloresFazzino.com/free-video, and there'll be a sign-up thing, a sign-up sheet to capture your information, and then you'll get it.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. Thank you. I'm sure
You're
our
so
viewers
welcome.
and listeners will appreciate that. For anybody who'd like to find out more about me, if you go to patriciajogrover.com, you'll find everything there. And I have gifts that will come to your inbox. If you're from the continental US and you text the word GOAL, GOAL, to 26786, or if you're outside the continental US and if you text the same word GOAL to 1-866-926-4020, the same things will come right to your inbox. We have a little video on the way out, and thank you for being with us. And remember, we're going to have Dr. Dolores with us speaking in the spiritual dimension of life on October 8th at about noontime, Eastern Standard Time. Bye-bye.